This is Tuesday afternoon. Manny stopped by earlier and he started working on the floor tiles. So here's how it came out. That's pretty nice. So let's get a close-up look at this pattern. So this is a weave. There's our drain in the middle. So he's got the floor completely done. And he also got started on the threshold. He carried the floor tiles up the side of the threshold, and he's got some thin set to start filling in for the shelf, which is going to be at an angle so any water will drip in towards the shower. So he's starting to build that up. So here's the overall look. This is pretty nice, coming along nicely. And he'll be back tomorrow. He'll start working on the walls. So he'll start getting the wall tile on these different walls here, the left, the back, and the front where the shower head is. And he will be using the same pattern tile inside of the niche. So it's a recessed area, so you can put things like your soap and your scrubber brushes and your shampoo and whatnot, air conditioner. So he's going to use this same tile that we have on the floor just inside of the niche to kind of dress it up a little bit. And the rest of the walls will have the tiles that we have in the boxes out on the porch. And then he'll have to put the grout in once the tiles are dry and all the spaces between the grout lines. I can show you that. So when he puts it in, you can see there's the spaces between the tiles, and that's going to get filled in with grout, which will kind of meld all these colors in this pattern together, and it'll look pretty fantastic, I'm sure. So I'm going to put a cardboard guard up to keep the cat out of there. There's a potential for him to get footprints mostly on this shelf area right here where Manny built up this material. You can see he kind of just glopped it on there to start getting it, you know, filled in for the angle he's got to put for the threshold. So that's the one area, if the cat gets in there, he'll leave some footprints, so we don't want that. So I'm going to make a cardboard barrier so the cat can stay out. We put up a cardboard barrier just to keep the kitty out of here. So I think that's of a sufficient height where he won't, if he does get in here, he won't be able to jump over that. In an effort to keep this space heated while the tile dries, we rigged up this wire. This is a 20 amp wire running to a heater that we have up here on this aluminum ladder. So this is adding a little extra heat to the area. So I made this little guide, and then I punched my hole saw through this guide, and that made it cut straight through the floor like I wanted to, and that allows this piece of drain pipe to go through, pass between the upstairs to the downstairs. So let me show you what I came up with. I roughed the plumbing in. So here's a look at the drain pipe that I roughed in. None of this is glued yet, so you can tell it's new because it's whiter. It's got a whiter color to it. The older pipe's kind of discolored. It's a little bit tan. So I cut the original drain pipe off right here at this junction, and I can reconnect it with a coupler. So that's that white piece there that's bigger than the rest of the pipe. This is a 1.5 inch drain pipe, which goes to a long 90. So what that does is it allows the water that's coming down vertically to kind of get swished to the left there and get aiming in a horizontal direction. It sends it downstream. There's also a clean out in this one, so if I needed to unclog something, I could just take a tool, unscrew that square end, and send something in there that could clear a clog. And of course, up this way is the hole we drilled. So that's the penetration in the sole plate in the floor that goes from the cellar up to the kitchen, and that's in the wall between the kitchen and the bathroom. And the pipe will ultimately stub out to a sink drain, and will also connect up these hot and cold water lines. So the hot is red, The blue is cold. So I have shut-off valves for that. And I left some extra material hanging out the end here, and I just capped it for now. I wasn't sure how much length I would need to redirect it up into the wall, so I have plenty to work with. I'll put an elbow in there and head it up through the floor. So that I'll glue in tomorrow. I didn't want to do too much work while Manny was walking back and forth with tiles, so that's where I left it. But I do get more comments on the YouTube videos than on the Facebook ones because the viewership is so much larger. I've got some videos that have only got 5 or 6 views on YouTube, but then I have others that are 200 plus views. So I don't know what it is. It might be the title of the that I use, or the text that I use. There's search terms that they're called meta tags that I add into the videos. So like the Schluter system is I'm imagining that's going to be a big hitter because people look up certain brands when they do kitchen work. So when they're doing searches on YouTube, my video might come up because it's got Schluter in it. Other times I might have do it yourself or whatever the keywords are. But definitely it's a hit or miss. Some of the YouTube videos, they get huge views. Oh, hundreds. So the potential viewers on my Facebook, I have like 87 friends on my Facebook page. So that's like the maximum views I could get unless people share it out. But on YouTube, you can get millions of people looking at your videos. And at some point you can monetize your what you produce. I think once you get over 10,000 hours of views and like 250 subscribers, then you can start to monetize your material and you can actually make some money doing this. That's not my goal, but it's kind of icing on the cake if you get a few bucks for making this content. So in the comments section of some of these videos, I get some pretty interesting questions. Here's an odd one. This person is doing their own renovation projects. His name is Sam, and wanted to know why I didn't get a dumpster and how much the material I took out of the house in the demo weighed, and would have made more sense to get a dumpster versus paying by the pound at the dump. I guess they're budget conscious, so they're thinking about they got to get rid of some of their own demo for their project, and that's a fair question. We made, I'd say 10. I'm going to say 10 or less runs to the dump, and the most expensive run was maybe 50, 60 bucks. All the rest were nickel and dime chump change, 17 bucks or 30 bucks or what have you. So I'm going to say I probably in total I only spent maybe 200 bucks for demolition removal. I don't know, I'd have to look at my records. I do have the receipts. That's a pretty interesting question, so I'm going to circle back and answer that with a little more accuracy. There's other questions here that I just kind of wrote down some of the ones that I thought were unusual. Not because of the question, but because I didn't think somebody would look at a kitchen renovation project and come up with these questions. It kind of seems kind of weird. It's like, what clothing do you recommend to wear when you're doing demolition? And I want to say jeans, because that's what I've been wearing, but man, I'm blowing the knees out of my jeans like crazy. Like all my pants are freaking blown out at the knees. So I'm thinking jeans might not be the way to go. I know Steve wears knee pads because he does this kind of work all the time, so it probably saves his clothing. But as a do-it-yourselfer, you're not going to buy knee pads. You're not even going to think about it. I use kneelers, but I still end up with ripped-up pants. So I would say there's a brand of jeans that contractors wear a lot. I'm trying to think what that is. Halden wears them all the time. They're like construction pants. I think they're like extra heavy duty. I can't remember the brand name, but if you're gonna do it yourself stuff and you got to do a lot of kneeling down, even with kneeling pads, you're gonna rip your pants up and you're gonna destroy them. So I would say jeans aren't sufficient for a do-it-yourselfer. You need something a little more bulk. So that was an interesting question. And what kind of clothes to wear when you do demo? To me, that just seems a little unusual. There's another. Hold on, I gotta stop here. I got somebody trying to turn. Okay, there you go. You're good. Okay, another kind of goofy question. What are some of the downfalls of do-it-yourself? Well, for me, there aren't any downfalls, but I can see how there could be some. That if you come up to something that you don't know how to do, I do research, watch YouTube videos, look on the internet, on multiple sources to figure things out. But I'm fairly confident that because I've done a lot of this do-it-yourself stuff for so many years, there's literally nothing that I can't figure out. But there are things that, like, you can figure them out, but like with Manny, the tile guy, I've done tiling before. I did the tile surround for our wood stove, and that was like, I don't know, 15, 20 tiles on the surround, and we did a hearth that was like 5 or 6. And I designed it myself, and I put it down, and it was a small project. It came out great. But like a whole kitchen, I mean, it comes into the scope of the work is vastly more on the production side than on the hobbyist side. I mean, I noticed Manny had to put down a lot of material to get that floor level. He had a big, long leveling bar where he would lay it down and he would find gaps and stuff, and he would really work the entire room and try to split the difference on how to get the whole room level rather than bring the whole floor up to level. I don't know if that makes any sense, because one part of the floor might be saggy, the other might be high, dips and divots. So he looked at the whole floor as a all-encompassing surface and figured out how he could make it flat, but not necessarily level. There's a big difference. So you might have like a 2-degree slant in your entire floor, but it's flat. And that's all tiles care about, that it's flat. Just like a wall. Think about a wall. A wall can be flat, but crooked. Like, say it's leaning back like 2 inches at the top, but the whole from floor to ceiling, it's flat, but it's leaning 2 inches. The lean doesn't matter. As long as it's flat, the tiles will lay down on the surface evenly and they won't look goofy. So when you get to the point where you're doing giant spaces and tiling, it's like, yeah, I can do tiling, but it's like, is it going to be wavy? Am I going to get it over my head? So I think for something that does a vast area, you might not want to try that yourself if you've never done it before. You might be overconfident you can make it turn out good, and you might end up with a perfectly tiled floor, and you stand back and look at it, and it's wavy. Or your tables are chairs, and you're always rocking because the floor is all goofed up. So there's that. But things like electrical, you can change out a switch yourself. Any idiot can do that as long as they turn the power off. And even if you hook it up wrong, you're just going to blow a breaker because it's going to be, shorted out. It's going to blow the breaker. But if you're doing like substantial electrical work and you're not familiar with what the code is, it might work, but it might not be up to code and it might not be safe. Like in a bathroom, you have to have a GFI. GFI is like if it gets damp, it'll trip. But also there's one that doesn't. It's for an arc as well. Like if you got a gas appliances, because when those trip, they make a little spark inside of the switch, and if there's gas in the room, you could blow up your house. So there's like little things like that are like code related that you got to be really careful about. So I would say one of the downfalls of do-it-yourselfers is you could get overconfident. You could attack anything, and you might get in over your head on something that's fairly technical as far as the code is concerned, and you might mess that up, and it could cost you your entire house if it burns down, or your life if you get electrocuted. I mean, plumbing work, if you fuck up, you're gonna have water damage. That's about it. You're not gonna die. But electrical, that can burn your house down. So things like electrical and
vast expanses like tiles, or even like structurally, if you had to put a beam in, you got to make sure it's strong enough to carry the load. So there's that as well. So when you're doing yourselfer, you got to know when you're what's out of your wheelhouse, and then calling the experts and the professionals when you need help and get it done right. So the downfall of a do-it-yourselfer is you get overconfident. You can tackle anything, it's going to come out fine. That can get you in a lot of trouble. Kind of long-winded answer, but that's all I got for you. All right, so those are a couple questions that seem kind of like the most interesting to answer. So I hope those provide some insight, and people who are listening can take something away from that and focus their efforts on what they're doing from their end in a more sensible and logical manner. And keep up the comments, and I'll try to answer all of them that I can.